Most people still cling to an outdated image of the alpha male, the loudest voice in the room, the one who takes charge, speaks first, and refuses to back down. They imagine him as the leader everyone's supposed to follow. But that version of the alpha? It's obsolete. It runs on ego, volume, and validation, not strength. Because real power doesn't come from domination. It comes from discipline. It comes from self-mastery, from the ability to stay calm, focused, and centered when everyone else is losing control. And that's exactly where the Sigma male stands apart. He doesn't climb the social ladder, he steps away from it. While others compete for attention, he operates in silence. Steady, observant, and immune to chaos. His presence isn't loud, but it's magnetic. People can feel the difference, they just can't explain it. Some mistake his independence for arrogance. Others assume he's detached or emotionless because he doesn't crave the spotlight. But what they don't see is that he holds all the qualities of a leader without needing to control anyone. As neuroscientist Dr. Andrew Huberman explains, calm focus is not the absence of emotion, it's mastery over reaction. That's the Sigma's strength. He doesn't chase applause. He doesn't follow trends. He doesn't manipulate to feel powerful. He simply directs his own mind, and that's what makes him unstoppable. While the world plays the game of noise and hierarchy, the Sigma quietly writes his own rulebook. He wins not through force, but through clarity, patience, and self-command. That's why more and more people are beginning to see it. The Sigma male isn't the rival of the alpha. He's the evolution of it. Not louder, but deeper. Not dominant, but disciplined. Not controlling others, but mastering himself. In this video, we'll uncover 6 powerful reasons why the Sigma male represents the new definition of true masculine strength. One built not on ego, but on inner authority. Reason number 1. He doesn't seek validation or status. Most people crave attention. They want to be noticed, liked, and admired. They chase approval, chase awards, chase every ounce of recognition they can find. But the Sigma male doesn't play that game. He's not powered by validation. He's not chasing status symbols or social points. He already knows his worth, and that's all he needs. That kind of inner stability throws people off. They're so used to watching others perform for attention, posting for likes, bragging about success, showing off wealth, name-dropping connections. But the Sigma male couldn't care less about any of that. He doesn't need to be seen to feel valuable. He's focused on building, growing, and living by his own standards. That doesn't mean he lacks ambition, it just means his ambition comes from within, not from a need to impress. He doesn't care if his life fits society's image of success. He's not checking boxes. He's building a life that feels right to him, not one that just looks right from the outside. Because he's not chasing approval, he's nearly impossible to manipulate. You can't flatter him into submission. You can't guilt him into compliance. He doesn't react to pressure or praise. He responds only to truth and logic. And that's what makes him strong. While others burn out trying to live up to expectations, the Sigma male moves at his own pace. He doesn't need applause to keep going. His motivation is internal. And when motivation comes from within, it never runs dry. You won't catch him trying to outshine others or brag about victories. When he wins, he stays humble. When he fails, he learns quietly and moves on. But he never ties his worth to what others think of him. That's why he stays calm and steady no matter what chaos surrounds him. This mindset even transforms his relationships. He doesn't crave constant reassurance or play emotional games for admiration. He shows up exactly as he is, raw, grounded, and real. If someone respects that, great. If not, he walks away without resentment. In a world obsessed with performance and pretense, the Sigma male's refusal to compete for attention is what makes him unforgettable. He's not proving himself to anyone. He's simply living his truth. And that alone makes him more powerful than any man desperate for applause. Reason number 2. He controls himself, not others. Most so-called alphas are obsessed with control. They want to control people, outcomes, conversations, everything. They think that's what power means. But the Sigma male knows better. Real power starts with self-mastery. If you can't govern your own thoughts, your emotions, and your impulses, you'll spend your life trying to control everything outside of you, and still end up losing. The Sigma male puts his energy where it actually matters, into himself, his mindset, his discipline, his emotional balance, his habits. He knows that if he can stay in control of himself, he doesn't need to control anyone else. He's not reactive. He doesn't lose his cool when life tests him. He doesn't start arguments to prove strength, because true strength doesn't need to prove anything. Instead, he responds with purpose. He picks his battles carefully. He knows when silence is power and when words are necessary. That emotional control is what makes him powerful, because it gives him freedom. He's not a slave to ego or impulse. He's not easily manipulated. While others drain themselves trying to change people or force outcomes, the Sigma male stays focused on what he can truly influence, his own behavior, his own growth. That focus is rare. It's what separates him from the masses. It's also what makes people respect him, even when they can't quite explain why. Because that steadiness, that inner calm, commands quiet respect. The Sigma male doesn't avoid leadership. He redefines it. They lead by mastering themselves first. They're strong but not aggressive. Quiet but never weak. That balance is rare, and it's exactly why, when situations get serious, people naturally look toward the Sigma male. He doesn't need to shout to be respected. He doesn't need to threaten to be taken seriously. His presence alone commands attention. And that presence isn't something you fake. It's built from years of inner work, from battles fought within. That's why he doesn't panic when life gets heavy. That's why he doesn't chase power, because he already is power. He owns himself. Reason number 3, he moves beyond social hierarchies. Most social systems are designed like ladders. Someone always has to be at the top, someone at the bottom, and everyone else fights to climb their way in between. People battle for status, for recognition, for that illusion of being above others. But the Sigma male looks at that entire structure and simply says, "No thanks." He doesn't climb the ladder, he builds his own path. He's not interested in fighting for a place inside someone else's structure. The Sigma male doesn't crave position, he craves freedom. And the only real way to achieve freedom is to step outside the game entirely. That's what separates him from the rest. He isn't antisocial. He's just uninterested in proving himself through someone else's rules. While most people are busy climbing ladders and begging for validation, he's quietly building his own staircase, one that only he knows how to climb. Even if it means walking alone, he's fine with that, because solitude to him isn't isolation. It's independence. This mindset baffles those obsessed with rank and recognition. They can't understand how a man can win without playing the same game they're trapped in. But the Sigma male does win, just not by their standards. He finds his own paths to success, ones that don't depend on applause, status, or social approval. He creates. He builds. He thinks beyond the system. He studies it from a distance, sees what works, what doesn't, and only takes what serves his purpose. That's what makes him unpredictable. And in a world where everyone's trying so hard to fit in, unpredictability becomes his greatest weapon. Because he's not in competition with anyone, he can't be threatened by anyone. He doesn't compare, he doesn't envy, and he doesn't try to outshine. He's not looking to prove he's better, only that he's different. And that difference makes him nearly impossible to control. Systems thrive on dependency, they need people to need them. But the Sigma male doesn't need the system. He moves outside it, and that makes him powerful. His independence makes him dangerous to manipulators, but magnetic to those who value truth, freedom, and strength. By stepping outside the hierarchy, he doesn't lose power, he multiplies it. Because now, he defines success on his own terms. And that isn't just rare. That's revolutionary. Reason number 4, he leads without needing followers. Most people think leadership means standing at the front. commanding a crowd, giving orders and drawing attention. But a Sigma male? He leads in silence. He doesn't need people behind him to prove his worth. His power comes from presence, not position. When he walks into a room, he doesn't try to take it over. He listens, observes, and speaks only when it matters. People notice him, not because he demands attention, but because he carries himself with clarity and self-respect. That quiet strength speaks louder than any speech ever could. He's not trying to be liked. He's not playing politics. And he's definitely not begging for followers. Yet people still follow him. Why? Because he's grounded. Because he's not reactive. Because he knows exactly who he is and where he's going. That kind of focus is magnetic. It draws people in, especially those used to loud, flashy personalities. When they encounter someone who doesn't care about titles or validation, yet somehow influences everyone around him, they realize there's a different kind of power in the room. The Sigma male doesn't chase leadership. He becomes a leader by default. In a world full of noise and performance, his quiet self-reliance stands out like a signal of truth. People want to be around that energy. They want to learn from it. They want to understand how he stays so composed when everyone else is desperate for attention. And while he doesn't lead everyone, only those who match his seriousness, when he does step up, he doesn't need a crown or a title. His leadership shows in how he moves, how he reacts under pressure, and how he stays loyal to his path even when it gets difficult. That's what real leadership looks like. It's not about commanding people to follow you. It's about inspiring them through how you live. Reason number 5. He influences quietly, not by force. In a world where everyone is competing to be louder, bolder, and more dominant, the Sigma male takes an entirely different path. He doesn't push people. He doesn't demand attention. He doesn't try to bend others through fear or control. Instead, he influences through quiet consistency, through his actions, his discipline, his example. That kind of influence hits differently because no one expects it. Most people look for someone flashy to follow, the one talking the loudest, selling the biggest dream. But then, out of nowhere, they notice the man who isn't saying much. Yet everything he does just feels right. That man is the Sigma male. He doesn't need to convince anyone. He doesn't waste time proving points or winning arguments. He simply lives what he believes. And if others want to follow, great. If not, he keeps moving forward. That's what makes his influence authentic. It's not based on control, but on truth. Over time, people start noticing the way he handles pressure, the way he treats others, the way he makes decisions. And eventually it clicks. This man knows what he's doing. Not because he said so, but because it shows. The Sigma male understands something most people never do. Real influence doesn't come from shouting orders. It comes from being someone others trust. Someone who stays solid when things fall apart. Someone whose words and actions actually match. That kind of steadiness is rare. And when people see it, they start paying attention. Without even trying, the Sigma male becomes a quiet leader within his circle, his workplace, or his community. Not because he asked for it, but because people naturally respect him. They see that he doesn't play games. He says what he means, follows through on his word, and doesn't need authority to make things better. And because he never forced anyone to follow him, the people who do stand with him are loyal. They're not there out of fear. They're there because they trust his integrity. That's the kind of influence that lasts. While others fight for attention, shout their opinions, or chase validation, the Sigma male does the opposite. He stays focused, grounded, and consistent. And somehow, without even trying, he ends up being the most respected man in the room. Reason number 6. He adapts. He doesn't overreact. We live in a high-pressure world. Fast-moving, chaotic, and emotional. Most people are ruled by impulse, but not the Sigma male. He stands out for one defining reason. He doesn't overreact. While others panic, chase emotion, or make reckless decisions, he stays centered, calm in the chaos. His strength isn't in how loud he is, but in how composed he remains when everything around him is falling apart. When problems arise, he doesn't freeze. He doesn't rage. He adjusts. He shifts direction without making noise. No drama. No panic. No rash movements. Just quiet, deliberate motion toward the right solution. That adaptability comes from wisdom, built through countless experiences. Sigma males are watchers before they are movers. They take a moment to truly understand the problem before reacting to it. That short pause, that controlled silence, is their secret advantage. While others are rushing to act, the Sigma is thinking. While others are breaking down, he's recalibrating. And when he does move, it's fast, but precise, no wasted motion, no scattered energy. Even in failure, his adaptability shines. The typical alpha might try to bulldoze through mistakes or cover them up with ego, but not the Sigma. He owns his errors, studies them, and transforms them into lessons. Every setback becomes data. Every failure becomes a map. And that constant evolution makes him stronger with time. The world is always shifting. Only men who can bend without breaking truly last. That's the Sigma advantage. He doesn't resist change. He uses it. He keeps his focus on the goal, but he's flexible in how he gets there. People watching from the outside often call it luck. They think things just work out for him. But they don't see the quiet recalculations, the endless internal rewiring, the behind-the-scenes decisions made in silence. What they witness is the result, the visible grace of a man who knows how to stay calm while the world is on fire. And because he doesn't announce every adjustment, people rarely notice the work. They just see a man who somehow, no matter what happens, always lands on his feet. That quiet resilience earns respect, even from those who don't understand it. They can't always explain his strength, but they can't deny it either. The Sigma male doesn't wait for the world to slow down. He matches its pace, moves with it, adapts to it, and keeps evolving. That's not just discipline, that's evolution. The old image of the alpha male, loud, controlling, and aggressive, is fading, because that kind of strength doesn't last. It crumbles under pressure. It looks powerful on the surface, but it's hollow inside. That's why the Sigma male is rising, not out of a hunger for attention, but because the world is finally beginning to recognize what real power looks like. He leads without needing followers. He masters himself long before he ever tries to influence anyone else. He inspires through quiet example, not manipulation or noise. He walks away from shallow status and empty applause, because his validation comes from within. When chaos erupts, he doesn't panic, he adapts. Calmly, silently, with unshakable precision. That's the essence of true strength. Not loud power that fades, but quiet power that endures. Because real dominance isn't about climbing higher, it's about realizing you were never part of the ladder to begin with. So if you've ever felt out of sync with the crowd, if your silence speaks louder than other people's noise, if you've chosen growth over ego, depth over attention, and freedom over control, then you're already walking the Sigma path. You don't need to call yourself one. You live it in the way you think, move, and respond to life. Now, it's time to own that energy completely. Protect your peace. Guard your purpose. And remember, true alpha energy isn't about standing above others. It's about standing unshaken within yourself. So keep your focus sharp, your silence sacred, and your strength steady, because that right there is the Sigma way. If this message resonates with you, don't just scroll past. Take a moment to share, and subscribe to Epic Persona, where the quiet rise of powerful minds never goes unnoticed.